in air quotes, go on in Philadelphia. Down in Georgia, where suddenly the president has lost a commanding lead, and now Joe Biden enjoys a 900-vote lead coming out of Fulton County, Georgia, where Atlanta is. Arizona seems to be tightening, interestingly. Nevada still to come. And then, of course, North Carolina, which is probably a lot of this stuff could trigger a runoff in certain states. President came out yesterday and made some remarks. We're going to talk with the president's team, Pam Bondi, former attorney general of Florida, former special advisor to the president. She and Corey Lewandowski are on the ground here. You saw Rich Grinnell in Nevada fighting away. And, so, meanwhile, in Philadelphia, there are court orders to be supervising this count, that Trump's people can get in there and watch this counting go on. And classic Philadelphia, they just said, we don't care what the judge said. No, we're not going to allow it. So what does Erin Elmore, a woman, a Fox News contributor, a woman who is a Trump surrogate many times. I know you've been with the Trump team as they've come through Pennsylvania a lot this year. Erin, welcome back to the show. What's your read on this as a Philadelphian this morning?
Well, thank you for having me. I think that Philadelphia has been a Democrat stronghold for longer than I've been alive, certainly. And I think they are just believing they think that they can do whatever they want and cheat their way to a victory here. Unfortunately, I'm glad that Pam Bondi is here, and I'm glad that Corey Lewandowski is here. But unfortunately, I think that the horse has left the barn here, and whatever ballots were disposed of or whatever cheating that was already done has probably already been done. But I think that everyone, whether you're a Democrat or Republican or an independent, you should want transparency in the process. You should want to feel confident with the results of the election. And we know in several states, putting Philadelphia aside, there have been dead people voting. There are more people who voted than were registered in the state. There have been all kinds of issues in Nevada with non-residents voting. So these things are all pointing in the direction of fraud. And the American people don't deserve to be defrauded. And this will all come out. And if nothing else, I can't assure you that the president is going to win at this point. But if nothing else, let's pray that this just exposes the corruption in voting and cleans up the act of the voting process, if you will, just to make it more fair, honest, and transparent. Because if not, people are just not going to come out and vote anymore.
It's really something to watch what coronavirus did this year. And again, I'm not a conspiracy kook. I'm not, although some people get mad at me for prefacing with this because they firmly believe what I'm about to say is true and that it's not a conspiracy, it's just true. I'm not going to assign motives to the virus and why it's here. I can't know that. Right. The virus is real and it's here. So however it got here, whatever you think of it, it is real, it is here. I do believe that. I also believe it was used very effectively to scare the hell out of people and push mail-in voting. Now, if you really want to walk out the conspiracy line and say, they were hand in glove, I'm not saying that. What I am saying is, no matter the virus here and mail-in voting, they were made magical partners. They were meant for each other, right? I mean, they were really a wonderful campaign.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you said that really eloquently, and I firmly believe that but for coronavirus, Donald J. Trump would absolutely be president again. And this mail-in voting disaster is definitely benefiting Joe Biden, without a doubt, because they made it easy. They made it thoughtless. They didn't make you have to work for it. And to be honest, it's kind of like the Democrat way of life. They want everything easy. They want everything thoughtless, and they don't want to have to work for it.
And they were culling these things well in advance. I mean, we were screaming about it for weeks, as you know, Erin. These quote satellite election centers that we weren't allowed to supervise either, where people could go in, get a ballot, fill it out, and leave it. I just kept imagining rooms in Philadelphia with stacks and stacks and stacks of ballots. Just waiting, sitting around for weeks. It's been going on. Like they were so ready for this moment.
Right, and it's just quite peculiar that you only find a treasure trove of votes for Biden and never, we found 700, 1,000, 1,500 for Trump. It hasn't happened once. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. It's just mildly peculiar.
You got to go back to our state legislature, don't you, in Pennsylvania, ultimately? If this doesn't come down on them, then I don't know who it comes down on.
I mean, I think there's federal implications. I think there's state-level implications. I think that this is going to be an absolute disaster. The only real precedent in my lifetime we have is Bush v. Gore, and that was in 2000. And by the way, Gore didn't concede until, I believe, December 13th. And in that case, we were only talking about one state and no clear allegations of fraud. This, we have several states and several fraud allegations. So this could be a really long road to resolution, don't you think?
Oh, I do. And what's so sad is, I think it was Tucker Carlson who so eloquently said it last night. If you can't have transparency, if we can't watch this, if we can't make the American public feel satisfied that there's a clear winner, and here's why, and here's the count, and here's the evidence, when there's this kind of suspicion surrounding an election, you have 70 million people who voted for the other guy who are going to feel cheated. And that's not healthy for our republic, that 70 million people are angry and feel cheated out of an election.
No, and on the other side, they can keep saying we're making it up and we're lying, but it's not going to change the feeling.
Nope.
And it's not going to change the sentiment. And we can point to, if anyone says there's no fraud, there are examples that we can point to already. By the way, the Wisconsin issue, Wisconsin had extremely high voter turnout, like over 90%, I believe, in one jurisdiction, and now they're saying more people voted than were actually registered. This is going to come out. I mean, we're going to figure it out.
Yep.
Everything's going to come out in the wash here. So we're going to know. It's just a matter of what this all looks like. So it's just sad. I think there's just a lot of sadness. I think, on a greater level of sadness, Donald Trump brought a whole new voter into the political hemisphere. And without Donald Trump in Washington, I think that voter is completely gone.
Well, that's
They're
what
not going to vote for.
Yeah, I got a note from a friend last night who said, what is the Republican Party without Donald Trump? And I said, this is sort of kicking the can, this election, because even if he had won, we'd still be staring that question in the face 4 years from now. I don't think it would have changed. Do you? I mean, it's still a party problem.
Well, not necessarily, because we could have had Don Jr., and the Trumps could have been integral in ushering in almost whomever they liked. And now we're going to go back. I mean, listen, Kristi Noem is great. There's people like, I like Tim Scott from South Carolina. But to be honest, you're not going to get that person with the pickup truck and the Trump flag walking over hot coals to go vote for those people. It's business as usual in Washington. It's back to politics. That voter, that new niche, blue-collar, hardworking, America-loving patriot and fighter is gone. They have no trust in the process. They have no faith in our system. They're gone. They are checked out of politics permanently. Gone. So for me, gosh, this is longer than we probably intended to talk about. But for me, listen, I have a political science degree and a law degree, so I understand all this stuff. But I really got into this world hardcore because I know Donald Trump personally. And I'm invested in the man, right? I wasn't invested in the GOP. I was invested in his movement. And now there's a part of me that questions my future within politics.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean, because I've talked with so many people. I have a close personal friend, 50 years old, out in Western Pennsylvania, never voted in his life until Donald Trump. And loves politics today only because of Donald Trump, just as you said. And one wonders, can you ever harness that guy and your passion?
No.
Again, will you ever get him back out again? No. You don't think ever again? Nope. You don't think there's a guy or a gal
that
can do it?
No. Unless Donald Trump Jr., but I don't even think it's the same. I think the only way was to get him again, and then maybe Don Jr., because then Trump himself would have been on the campaign trail with Jr., and everyone would have been excited, and it would have been fun. And now...
So walk this out. I mean, could President Trump become a kingmaker the next 4 years? Could he spend the next 4 years making trouble for Biden? Why would he? Yeah, good point. Okay.
He's lucky. By the grace of God, he won't end up in jail by these maniacs. By the grace of God, because they try to impeach, the impeachment, and then Hunter Biden is literally breaking the law. They just say, "Oh, poor little addict." The whole system, it's disgusting. I am so dejected, and I'm the most optimistic person generally. I feel so dejected, and let's just hope that all of this fraud is exposed and we have a more fair system going forward, because that's really our only hope for the Republic at this point.
And you know what's strange, Erin, is even so, it was a devastating night for Democrats other than the presidency, which really was still pretty devastating because it's not a declarative decisive win. I mean, even so, Republicans didn't lose a single House seat and are going to hang on to the Senate. I mean, so even though this feels this way, Democrats didn't exactly have a triumphant week.
No, and I don't know, I'm sure you've heard, but like there was that House call, there was a House Zoom call, and everyone in the House basically said we should never use the words defund the police again. We lost a lot of seats. Like at least they're having some contrition and evaluation and understanding about what the last 6 months have meant. And my only like saving grace here, and my only hope for like a future for my child and myself is that they realize that this rhetoric that they were spewing, like hopefully they see that the defund the police, open borders, empty the jails rhetoric is scaring the suburban voter, and they'll become a little more moderate.
Erin Elmore, a Fox News contributor, executive director of USA Strong. Let me talk about that quickly because I know that was one of the reasons we wanted to talk to you today. You have a documentary out there, unrelated to our conversation here. What's going on there with you?
So USA Strong is a relatively new grassroots organization aimed at helping the American worker and the American middle class remain strong, because without a robust middle class, what does our country have? I care about the American worker, and that means not shipping jobs over to China and holding China accountable for all of their atrocities. Like, forget the coronavirus if you even can. They have concentration camps over there. They're stealing our intellectual property. They're tearing down Christian churches. They hate Christianity. They're a communist dictatorship that wants to rule the world. And I made a short documentary about one company in Alabama called Wellborn, and they're really a metaphor for the whole United States. They're a small manufacturer in rural Alabama, and the Chinese Communist Party came in, swooped in like a parasite, and tried to shut them down. And they fought back and won. And it's just a story of success and how they saved their community, they saved their jobs, and how other companies weren't so lucky. But this is the American dream and the American story, and it really has to be preserved. So you can find it. And by the way, Don Jr. has retweeted it and things like that, and so is Charlie Kirk of Turning Point USA. So you can find it on Facebook right now and Instagram at Proud USA Strong. That's Proud USA Strong.
Proud USA Strong. And I will I'll tweet that out myself this morning. Well, Erin, I wish the circumstances were a little less frustrating, but thank you for your work at USA Strong. And I guess we're going to continue to watch this thing until we have some clarity one way or the other. I think, although I think we kind of know what happened. I mean, it's not that we're not clear what's going on. We know what's going on. It's just now a matter of having to swallow it, I guess.
Yeah, and just seeing what happens going forward. So by the grace of God, everything happens for a reason, and I'm hoping I hope it's not socialism. Let's just put it that way.
Right. We fight on. Erin Elmore, thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
USA Strong. ProudUSAStrong.com.